Welcome to Business That Speaks. I'm Kelsey Downs, and this is a podcast about why your business matters and how challenges shape you. Let's get into our conversation now. Today's conversation is sponsored by The Purpose Formula by Dr. Jessica Rimmer. This is a book that provides clarity and resources, as well as a full framework to someone who is looking for purpose in their life. If you've been searching for more meaning in your life, this is the book for you. One of the things I love most about this book is that it's not just inspirational, it actually gives you practical tools and a framework to go off of when you finish it. Throughout the book, Dr. Rimmer helps you uncover clues that already exist. The three things that are already present in your life are your design, your disappointments, and your desires. She helps you uncover your purpose by looking at those three different clues in your life. Purpose is something you do not have to endlessly chase. It is something you can uncover. Let me read you a quote from Jessica, the author, after she worked this framework in her own life. She says, "After working through this process myself, I actually changed the focus of my business and restructured my service offerings. Since then, I've experienced more joy, clarity, energy, focus, and yes, even greater financial success. I now describe my purpose as helping connect people to tools and resources for more meaningful lives. And honestly, I feel like I'm just getting started." If you are craving direction and not just inspiration, The Purpose Formula by Dr. Jessica Rimmer is the book for you. You can get it on Amazon or even find a link in the description. The Purpose Formula talks about your design, your desires, and your disappointments. That's exactly what today's conversation is on Business That Speaks. Let's tune in now. Welcome back. Today, we are interviewing someone very special to me. I actually met her about 9 months ago as I went through a business accelerator called Cultivate here in Oklahoma City. Her name is Cynthia, and I just clicked with her from the get-go. I don't know if it was our personalities or God or multiple different things, but I clicked with her from the beginning, and she is just an incredible person who has lived a lot of life and has a lot of experience. And so I wanted to interview her today. So welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me. I know that we've had many conversations in person, and all I've thought about is when we've had these one-on-one conversations is like how much people would benefit from hearing. Like, I just wish I could bring 5 or 10 of my friends around the table.
That's very kind.
As we're talking, because you're a truth teller, and you also you're able to help connect dots with stories and metaphors and different things like that. So, will you tell us a little bit about your career and then kind of where you're at today and what you're doing?
Okay, well, my career path has been, shall we say, variegated. So I have been both self-employed and employed, and I've worked across a number of industries: healthcare, oil and gas, public and private, nonprofit, environment, real estate, just about a little of everything. And then finally landed at Cultivate, where I was so blessed to be part of that and watch people's journey and be able to add some observations that were useful, I think, to most of them. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And how long have you been helping with Cultivate?
5-6 years.
Okay. And they brought you in as a mentor. Have you always been in the same space that you're in and were with my cohort, or has it changed?
Yes, no, it's been the same. If anything, that sort of expanded. I think, or a couple of people that walked in and noticed this older lady sitting there, and I'm sure the first thought was, what could she possibly have to say? And I wondered that myself from time to time, but turned out, God blessed me with this huge variety of opportunities, and I have yet to step into a space where I don't have something that I recall from the past. And I think particularly for women, all of my career began in a era where women really didn't have the recognition that a guy had. So when I had my own business, for example, I didn't go under my first name. I used my initials, CL, so they wouldn't know necessarily,
Yeah.
on a first contact, whether I was a man or a woman, because if I use Cynthia, I wouldn't get a response at all.
Yeah. When did you start your business? What year was that?
When did I do what?
Start your business. What year was that?
Oh gosh. Well, let's see. That was back in the early 80s.
Okay. I was trying to get context
Yes.
around
Mm-hmm.
what time of, and
Yeah.
was that in Oklahoma or have
Yes,
you
it
lived?
was.
Okay.
Yeah, that was out of desperation, actually, because I was out of a contract that I had with the National Trust,
Okay.
6-state region that I consulted in for preservation. And oh my gosh. So some of the people in the region kept calling and saying, well, I know you're not with the trust, but can you come? And I had to say, well, I have to be paid. I have to have expenses. Sure, no problem. Come. So
Wow.
then I realized, well, I could do this more or less. And I had connections in Oklahoma City, and people were like, oh, well, could you do this? Well, I can try.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, we can say goodbye, no hard feelings. And it worked. So I did that for a bit. And then
That's really
finally,
cool.
one of the clients was like, no, we need you full time to do this. It's a big project.
And then you said yes and you came on full time?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was, how did you make that decision of like keep doing your own thing with multiple clients or?
Well, God sort of made that decision for me. I had a partner by that time.
Okay.
She decided to do two things that changed the landscape. She decided to go to law school to be a entertainment lawyer and get married, which moved her out of the state. So,
Well,
goodbye.
two things you don't have any control over.
That's right. And my mother had been diagnosed with lung cancer, and then this came up. So
Okay.
I thought, okay, I don't have to worry about chasing multiple clients or serving them.
Yeah.
I told them my situation. I said, I need the flexibility to go see her. She lived in Denver, and help and do whatever. And they were totally cool with that. So it just was like
An easy
providence.
Yeah, you take the step, move right into the next one. So what's a consistent theme? You mentioned probably 10 industries that you've worked in. What's a consistent theme of what you were doing in each of those industries?
I call it strategy. It was a combination of what people think of as marketing or branding or whatever, but really to me, it all comes into strategy. Whatever you're doing about presenting your business or a project or whatever it is,
Yeah.
it really is about how do you make the entity that you're representing or the cause that you're representing have a personality, have something that actually lives and connects with people. Most of what I've done has been, I would say, more service oriented than product oriented.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have a service, it needs to have a personality. And of course, if it's your own business or it's a nonprofit, there's an imbued sense of what that personality has to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has to be real on the ground. When you walk in the door, it has to feel like someone you know.
Yeah, it has to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So it covers a lot of things. I've recently decided that branding in general is too much like, cattle. You stick the thing on the thing. And that's not a live
Burn it
deal.
into their skin.
It's like, okay, so we own that. Next.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I read that article that you wrote on branding, and I would love to have you share a little bit more your thoughts around that, because I know brand, like even just how overused that term is, I think, in the industry. And then how do you see that with that personality that you were just talking about? Like, what are the differences between how we're viewing branding today that you're seeing, and then what you see the personality
branding
as?
is just about, I get to do all new graphics and, freshen up your logo, and I'll put these ads together and boom, you're done. there's no connection with what are the personal values
Yeah.
and then how those personal values might be part of the business or the nonprofit values. Nonprofits, that might be easier to understand it because they have a cause or a mission,
Right.
and people inside that generally line up. Not always, but generally. And so already there's a thread. But for a person, I have to go back to what my grandfather always said, that you can't be two people. You can't be a person at work and a person at home. Whatever values you have at home, you're either expressing at work and it's real, or if you have a set of rules that you operate by in business, those will come home. So you can see the positive and negative influences that could occur, but you can't be a person of integrity, for instance, but cheat and lie in your business.
Exactly.
It just doesn't happen that way. So I look at that and I think there's more to it than that. So I'm currently working on a project for a bank,
Okay.
which a lot of what I've done is with service rather than product. And the idea is, and it's privately owned. So the idea is that person starts that because they have certain gifts from God. They have absolutely some standards for their own life.
Yeah.
And then how does that become a real thing and be exhibited in how you do business and how you present yourself? So I believe that services are more powerful when they're viewed as relationships. And to build a relationship from the first step outside the gate, not just prospecting for clients, but building a relationship so that you want to work with them and they want to work with you.
Yeah.
And it's scary if it's a business because you're starting out, you want all the relationships that you can get, right?
Yeah.
Well, some of them you should never pursue.
Yeah.
And you should be bold enough to say, no, we don't align on any version of values. And you're going to be better off with this person because they just do branding, actually. So you'll be comfortable.
Right. And you've been able to figure that out in those initial conversations before you take on a new client when you're running your own business or move into a full-time position to help with a project.
Yeah. I usually start with what matters to you.
Yeah.
What is it that gets you out of bed? What is it that worries you? How much? And when they start talking about money, that's usually a bad start because everybody's worried about money.
Always.
But why are you worried about it?
Yeah.
So in this case, in a bank, their worry appropriately would be, we're responsible for these people's financial health. That's a good step.
Yeah.
I'm a steward would be where you want them to go. That's
Right.
a deeper level of commitment.
But there's some conviction there to
Yeah.
take care of people.
Yeah. And then you figure out how you see that happening inside the team.
Yeah.
How do they treat each other? That would be the first thing.
Mhm.
And then how do they treat customers? And are all customers created equal in their eyes, or are they really careful of the more productive customers, not
Yeah.
so much of the others? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of nuances there.
So when you start figuring out some of that information, what does that conversation look like with the leaders where it's like, hey, here's some gaps that I'm seeing, or do you?
No, I usually
I'm like-
don't go with the gaps
I'm
because they focus on that already.
Okay.
So, no, I go with, here's what I see. Here's
Okay.
what could take this to the next level. Here's what it will require from you
Yeah.
and from your team. If you're in, we're in. If you're not, see ya.
Have people been upset with the things that you bring that you've been able to see?
Well, I think
When
they
you're
have
like-
been, some of them, because we said goodbye, but I didn't worry about it. I gave them my best shot, and they want it. They weren't ready for that challenge, so that's okay.
Yeah. I was curious if they
Yeah.
were like, no. it's
Yeah,
just not.
famously, I learned to do that because it's expensive in every respect when you have the wrong one.
Yeah.
So we had this guy in Norman that had apartment houses. My partner and I, it was our first time to think about how do you fill apartments with people. Well, I have no idea, but everybody needs a place to live, so we're going to sort it. So we came up with a strategy that was good, looking basically at where those apartments were with what part of campus they were closest to.
Yeah.
Realized it was graduate students who don't go home for the summer, pretty much.
Yeah, they're going to be there
So
all
we
the time.
thought they'd be better, but they needed a different kind of environment out of the living area, and not just the apartment, but the arrangement of other features.
Oh,
We
okay.
took that and they agreed to do it, but the person that we worked with was just abusive and demeaning. And we scrambled as hard as we could and everything worked. And I mean, it worked incredibly well. We were absolutely on target there. But this guy was awful. So, and it was affecting our ability to work with the other clients. So I said, we need to fire the guy.
Yeah.
My partner said, thank God. So we went down, we met with him, we gave him the whole file, everything that we had. This will
Everything
work
you've done.
for years. Okay, it's all yours.
You just got to do it because we're not doing it anymore.
Yeah, and here's the placement strategy. If you just keep doing it, you'll be fine. And good luck. No, you can't leave. Yeah, we really
Because
have to.
you've filled the apartments.
Yeah, I said,
got
we really have
revenue.
to. And besides which, you just don't have any boundaries of respect or recognition of people's efforts or any of that. So we're just done.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't do that. Goodbye. We leave. We go back up to Oklahoma City, and we've got phone ringing off the hook. This is still when, landlines are fairly important. And so his partner's like, please don't do this to me. We've got some other projects coming on. Please, we need you. And I said, he's terrible to work with.
Yeah.
He's just awful. I just can't do it. And he said, maybe you could work more with me. I said, you haven't been around at all. So I don't think,
not trusting
more is going to happen. This
Yeah.
is the guy who leads your operations. Well, in any event, so we decided, here's what we can do. We can just quote a really huge fee, and he won't take it.
Yeah.
He did take it, and we were stuck. It lasted about 3 months, and we finally went back and said, no, all of this is not worth it.
So nothing changed.
Yeah.
He kept being demeaning.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
So we said, you're on your own.
Yeah, because no amount of money can change someone's character or personality.
Or how it drains you.
Oh, absolutely.
And you get, you just cringe every time that phone rang or whatever.
Yeah, your stomach drops.
And you just don't want to. So you don't bring the best of yourself to it. You start having really negative attitudes, oh, I don't care if this is up to par because.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to turn into that person. Neither did my partner. So we. Bye. Yeah, it was okay. And, it was scary because it was big money.
Yeah.
But it was like, she said, what are we going to do? I said, we're going to have faith. God will provide. My mom's most frequent statement all through my growing up, whenever there was a challenge of any kind, God will provide.
Yeah.
And so I told her that. She was not terribly Christian at that point. I mean, she was kind of like a light believer.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, okay, so you're the big Catholic here. I guess we'll go with that.
She's like, I'm going to link arms with you because I don't know that I really believe this.
Yep.
And you're like, I do.
And about 2 months later, we started getting these healthcare clients. And they needed consistent stuff, and they were good payers, and it was fun projects.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to us in the most bizarre way because we'd had this little construction general contractor guy. It was small potatoes, but he wanted to look big enough to build a niche where he'd get called in as a provider by the really big construction companies to do a thing.
Yeah.
So he'd be on their list. So we dressed him up literally with, here's what you got to wear to work, and it's got to be clean, and all your people need to wear this, and here's your logo. It looks very corporate. Here's how you need to present yourself. We did all of those kinds of things. And I said, and you need to network with
people.
guys that or with these companies, and, express what you want to do. We gave them a little kind of like a position paper. He said, don't we do ads? I said, no, what's an ad going to do for you? We're not doing ads. You have to go yourself and call on these
Cynthia's
people.
famous words. We're not doing ads.
Yeah, we're not doing that. So, and
did he start getting business?
He got business, and he was very happy. We were very happy. I didn't really think anything more of it, And he got this gig with a couple of hospitals doing specific work, and he told them,
that was
you need this person. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was just like so disparate. There wasn't any, other than that was a person that we helped. He was just such an advocate. It was shocking.
That's really cool. And so did they bring you in for marketing strategy, operations? What did that look like?
Marketing strategy. Yeah. The first one, the hospital was building what they were calling a women's center, but it was really just a giant birthing center.
Okay.
And I was like, no, this is not a women's center.
You're like,
look at,
are there any women running this?
Room full of guys.
Exactly.
I said, do you even realize that women have 7 more surgeries in their lifetime than men?
I didn't know that.
And they're like, how do you know that? I gave them the study that had been done.
Yeah.
And I said, so you can't call this a women's center if all you're doing is having babies. And I said, let me ask you this question. Do the women who have hysterectomies land in the birthing center because the nurses know how to take care of women? Well, yeah. I said, do you know how anguishing that is? To be there, losing your reproductive capability and listening to Brahms' lullabies periodically through the day? You have any idea
how painful that would be?
Oh, that's bad. Yeah, it is bad.
Yeah, that's not good. Not a good experience.
Yeah. I said, so if you're thinking that will help women recommend you to their family, probably not. I said, besides which, women are much more knowledgeable today.
Yeah.
And they make decisions differently. I said, so they were like, well, what do we do? I said, quit worrying about beating out the other hospital to be the best birthing center. Forget about that. You need a new hill. Your new hill needs to be a real, honest to God women's center.
Yeah.
And we gave them some strategies and some ideas, and those things are still working today. They're still doing it 20 some odd years later. It's crazy, but it was the right thing.
Yeah. And was it to look at all of the 7 surgeries that most women are having, and how do you care well for
all of women's health care?
Woman.
And the first thing we said, you need to bring in some celebrities, people who have experienced these things. They can talk about, well, our doctor should talk about it. I said, they're dry as dust. They're very good doctors. They're not performers. They should be the host, bringing in these people. You're just talking about the experience, no medical expertise, but from your side of the stethoscope, what was it like?
Yeah.
And then the doctors can just address briefly, there are a number of ways in which we can help women with this problem or similar problems. And it builds credibility.
Yeah.
And it teaches your doctors to listen to women, because we're going to have an advisory board. They're going to tell you all the things that work and don't work. Yeah.
Yeah. To bring in an advisory board of women.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It still has it, still doing it, still going good. That's what I like. I like something that is so real and so truthful that it lasts for as long as you're willing to invest in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And caring about people seems to be the common theme.
Because that's a different thing than having a brand where you've got something on a piece of paper. That's not live.
Yeah.
It looks nice.
Yeah.
But it's not live. And you need to make it live.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. That's something I've seen and heard just over talking to you for the last 9 months is caring for people. And I think that's one of the biggest things that's shifted in me in the 9 months is I'm viewing people differently than I did 9 months ago, and I'm grateful for that.
Oh, well, you know, it's part of what Jesus tried to teach us while he was here,
Yeah.
that you have to live abundantly, love abundantly. So if you believe, whatever it is you believe, if that isn't actionable in everything that you do, then how much do you believe it?
Yeah.
You know, and with his parables and with his 3 years journeying through, you know, basically today's Galilee or Middle East,
Yeah.
he changed the world indelibly forever,
Yeah.
and taught us how to do that. And that's where you have to go. But you have to start with what are my real beliefs about people, about interacting with people?
Yeah. That's really cool. So the project you're working on right now with the bank, same thing, is you're
Mhm.
looking at the internal relationships, the external relationships, and finding common threads to then give them strategies to begin implementing
Right,
that will stand the test of time.
right, exactly.
Because that seems to be what you do.
That's what I love.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about you writing books because
Writing books.
you're currently writing books as well.
Yes,
How many?
I have 3 that are, you know, they're completed and they're decent, but they're not publishable yet.
Okay.
So I write these things. It was funny. When my mom had cancer, she said to me, she said, I always thought that you write well, and I always thought you'd be a person who would write books.
Hmm.
And so I wrote a book for her, and I sent her chapters every week so that she'd have something to read during chemo and when she was not feeling well through the whole thing. And it just mattered to me.
Yeah.
So I got that all written before she died, and she read it. And then I didn't do anything more because it was too raw.
Yeah.
But then that stuck with me. Your mom believed that you could write, so what are you doing? Not writing. I'm writing for other people. So I just kind of hit a point in my life where, you know, my son was pretty much grown and I was still working. And at that point, I was traveling a lot for work. So a lot of time in airports. So
What am
I just
gonna do with
started
my
writing.
time?
Yeah.
I'm gonna start
I just
writing.
started writing, and I would sit really close to the desk and tell the person checking us in, you'll have to tell me to get on the plane because I'm going to be so engrossed in what I'm doing, I won't hear anything overhead. And so they would do that. They were all uniformly very kind about that.
That's cool.
And so I've got 3 books, and you put so much into it, I was just too lazy to take them to the next step. And the publishing world is difficult to begin with, and it's morphing into more complexity than ever. And I wasn't sure how I wanted to, so I just kept writing. We'll figure that out later. And finally, and I took a couple of them that were stronger to I'd attend conferences for writers, and they'd always have like agents and publishers and whatever. And I would enter mine into competition if they'd do well, and I'd get an appointment with one of these people who uniformly told me I didn't have the right thing. You know, it didn't fit the pro forma for like a romance or
The
whatever.
genre that you're
supposed to follow these rules, and I'm not very good at following rules, so that was a no-go for me.
You're like, okay, I need to find another route.
Yeah. So I was at one of these conferences, I got to know this woman who's also an author, and she used to hold these little things during COVID little Zoom meetings for writers, and we just share tips and ideas and stuff like that. And it was really helpful.
Yeah.
And she progressed from doing stuff like that to being a coach, which is kind of a combination of agent and editor.
Oh, okay.
So I had a lot of, she just listens well.
Yeah.
And I assumed that she would read well, and she did. So I've been working with her, and it has been transformational. So I took this women's fiction that one of the agents says, you have to follow these rules for a romance. I'm like, I'm not writing a romance.
Yeah, and what was her opinion on his advice?
Well, so she said, what is your goal for this book?
And you're like, oh, thank you for asking.
Yeah. And I said, I would like to show what it's like to live a Christian principle through all the things that happens in your life, in a woman's life, because you have so many conflicting roles. And so how do you unite all of that in faith? She said, oh, well, that's great, because she said, you're on the threshold of that.
You're almost there, yeah.
She said, because I see a lot of Christian books and they have the characters say little things about their belief, but you don't see the action of it. She said, you're pretty good with action, so I think that would be very cool. And she has just, I mean, that's just opened this up like I can't believe. Every session I sit down afterwards and I have to do it right away. And I sit down and I write, and it's just incredible what comes out. It's not like she says, do this or do that. It's just, she has a perspective for each chapter of opportunities where I could treat it differently, bring out a bigger reveal.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, this has been so good. So when we get that kind of whipped into shape, then she'll help me present it to
a publishing
some
company.
options. And there'll probably be a hybrid version.
Yeah.
Because those are getting stronger and have more bandwidth. So
yeah,
that's where I'm headed.
That's
and
exciting.
in the meantime, because I don't have enough to do, right?
Right.
I'm writing a historical fiction.
Okay. Historical fiction. And then this one, what would...
Oh, well, this one is set
label it
in
as?
the 70s. So this is a post-World War II, and it's meant to identify, because the thing that's still never been completely opened up is what happened to all the wealth that was stolen from the Jews. And I thought the Nazis, the German people, being so ridiculously ordered about all their records and everything, I didn't think there would be any way that didn't have a record somewhere.
Yeah.
And hidden so that nobody could trace it to the individuals and they could reclaim, which is exactly what happened. Switzerland invented about that time the idea of numbered accounts. So I started looking, and I realized that, so that not everybody in an internment camp got a tattoo. Just the ones who went to Auschwitz, which involved the 3 top architects of the final solution. And all 3 of those people raided museums and things elsewhere as they marched across Europe, and each of them had their own little stash. I thought, there's got to be a deal here. So anyway, that's what I'm writing. And in the 70s, a U.S. senator responded to an appeal from a Jewish survivor, an old lady, who recognized a painting and knew how much other wealth had been stolen.
Yeah.
And the bank wanted a death certificate of her husband. It's like, I don't think the death camps issued death certificates.
Yeah. I don't think they cared about that.
I think they really were clear that wasn't going to be a process.
Yeah.
So, and that was so that they didn't have to surrender any of it, because they shortened the time frame in which they could claim the account to themselves at the bank to like 7 to 10 years. Typically, in the financial world, it's very much more extended, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
investigation to try and find the legitimate heirs, but they weren't doing that. So this person went to the senator, and the senator decided there were steps that he could take, and he
Wow.
discovered that there had been a joint task force, was how we describe it today, between the British and the Americans, because they realized that when Germany went into the war, they were broke. So how did they get the money to keep operating? Well, they got it from the Jews. And so it was just a complete ripoff. And that's how they set up why they were going to do what they did. You know, these people have all the money, we're going to take it. And so the two entities were tracing this stuff down, and they had gotten really, really close to an answer. And then the war ended and the Cold War began. And the
Right.
focus became communism, because that was looking at the time as big, as nasty a threat as
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
they'd just been through. So they disbanded, and the Americans kept the file, but it got buried. You know, if you watched Indiana Jones and the Ark goes into a store, that's basically what happened.
Yes.
So he's on a mission to go find that in the 70s, and they're still to this day
Looking and finding
digging,
stuff.
finding, going through all of this, because they identified in that process, this Joint Commission identified the rat lines that the Germans used to move stuff and people in and out of the country,
Jeez.
and all of that. So it's very plausible. I don't conclude the book with an absolute, but it leads into what real history is currently doing, and I can have an afterword in the book that just tracks that.
That's
But the
cool.
premise behind that is really that a moral code, whether it's moral or amoral, can become a culture within an entire country or several countries.
Wow.
And it matters.
Yeah.
It matters. So like today in America, we're having a lot of pushback about separation of church and state.
Yeah.
And yet this country was founded on people seeking freedom to practice their religion. So it says in the Constitution, freedom of, not freedom from. Very important preposition.
Yeah.
And the extent to which we recognize that, and we recognize that most of the social good that's been done in the world and in our country in particular has come from nonprofits that are based on faith principles.
Christian values. Yeah.
And there is no prohibition about a cooperative position between government and nonprofits to achieve a common good. There's not.
Yeah.
What there is a prohibition that the state, the nation or a state, can prescribe which religion has to be practiced. That's it.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Each state. How interesting.
Mm-hmm. That's what the founders wanted to avoid, because they were coming out of countries where they
Right.
said, you have to be Church of England, you have to
do
be,
this, you have to do that, yeah.
whatever, Huguenot. And they were
Wow.
like, no, I'm not that, and I don't like the way you've set it up, so I'm not going there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. And the culture, that you're even talking about in the country or the state or the company or how you're treating people, it all goes back to those values, and those values go back to how you view people, treat people, and how you act, whether that's at home or at work or anywhere. It's
Right.
like, that's who you are. And I think what's hard for me is a lot of times you can't see very clearly how you act. Like, you have your mind and your mind does these things, but it's like, sometimes I feel like I can be blind to my actions. And
Mm-hmm.
if like my heart and my intention is actually coming out in actions.
Yeah.
And because I've also experienced a lot of transformation in the last 7 years where I had a moral code that was this way, and now my moral code is completely different, and my values are completely different. And so I still see pieces of this old.
Oh, I think we all do.
Everyone, right?
We all do, because A, we're not perfect. B, the message of the world in general, and I don't mean this in a negative space per se, but it is not focused on the things of God. It's focused on the things right in front of their face.
Yeah.
And doesn't mean they're terrible people, but it lacks that depth that causes people to treat things and people differently, to establish priorities that are different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. And yeah, I think we'll be fighting that.
Oh, you do forever. You have to
Forever.
just practice. And when you screw up, you just have to say,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And take a look at, how did I fall down that slope? And then when can I recognize it sooner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have people around you that are willing to
Mm-hmm.
tell you when
Yeah.
you're going down that slope.
But the more you do anything, whether it's a sport or your faith, the more you exercise any of that, the stronger it gets.
It's true. It's very true. Self-awareness,
Mm-hmm.
like even that, practicing, okay, how did that person just experience me on the other side of that statement?
Mm-hmm.
Or, yeah, or what did this action, look like? Did this look like integrity, or did this look like a mess,
And that's hard, because you want that feedback so that you know for yourself, but you don't want to there's too many times people worry too much about what other people think. They're going to
Yes.
think what they think.
Yes.
It would be nice if they thought nice things of you, but they may not.
Right.
And you have to judge your own character and your own actions against the standards you've set for yourself.
That's right.
And the relationship you want with God.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly
That's
right.
the only thing that works.
Yeah. And have people, I think the helpful thing with who you have and who you're listening to, it's like, I'm going to take feedback from you if you're calling something out in me rather than a stranger on the street that's going to, because I don't really care what they think about me, but I do care how you're experiencing me because I'm in relationship with you and I wouldn't want to hurt you or harm you or anyone around me. And so
Right.
if you're seeing that and you can point that out, like your word's going to cut a little different than
Mm-hmm.
a stranger on the street.
Yeah.
As it should. So last question, what is something in this season of your life that is challenging you in you previously were maybe thinking this way and it's challenging something?
Oh, well, I'm in the final stage of my life. That's a really big thing. And I've discovered my brain hasn't accepted that in the same way that the rest of me has. So it comes out really clearly when I'm traveling. I've traveled all the time. I've done the thing. Put your bag up on the bin and do all that. And I'm constantly on this trip, especially. I just go to get the bag ready to put it up, and I've got 3 people standing there. Here,
Ready to
let me
help
get
you.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And take it down and get on and off the car rental bus and all the things. And I was
But
just
your
like,
brain feels like it's
and I know I can physically tell that it's a struggle for me to do some of that, but and I thought, I may be the only opportunity these people have to do something kind. And I need to not deny that access. So
Yeah.
as much as I want to just say, no, I can handle it, I thank them and I bless them for what they've done because that's what they need from me in that moment. That's helped a great deal, but it's still, I talked to my sister and I said, I'm officially old. And she laughed, it's taking you this long to figure that out. I said, yeah, but there's things that, I struggle to do for myself. I'd get there, but I struggle. And
Yeah.
people are stepping in before I ever have to struggle. And that's just, that's wonderfully encouraging about
Yeah. Our world.
our people. And B, it's a different way that God is allowing me to give.
It's true. Giving by receiving help.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hard for me to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's so good. Well, yeah, to close it up, would you just share what would be something you would want to encourage nonprofit leaders, business leaders, women specifically
I
in this
think
day and age?
just as individuals that we should all know that we are loved and chosen by God. He's claimed us as his. So whatever comes along, since he's claimed us as his, he's there. It doesn't mean the struggle is going to go away or, that bad things, quote unquote, bad things won't happen, but he's there to get us through it and to support us and to welcome us home.
Yeah, that's good. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We will be back next week with another interview. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Business That Speaks. If there was anything that stood out in today's conversation, I would love to hear about it. Please get online and leave us a review. Follow me on Instagram, connect with me on LinkedIn, do all of the things, and we'll see you back here next time.